in the comments as a sign that you are ready to receive what heaven is releasing over your life right now. When I say this is a special word sent by heaven, I am revealing that I see you personally, that I know the details of your struggle, and that I have not overlooked a single tear or silent prayer that rose from your heart when no one else understood your pain. The idea that something bad will happen if you skip this is not a threat from me, but a reminder that ignoring my voice can leave you walking without the comfort and direction that I freely offer to guide and protect you. I am drawing you close because there are moments ahead that require confidence, clarity, and courage, and I am strengthening you in advance so that you will stand steady and not be shaken by unexpected winds. If this word is touching your heart already, take a second to like this video as a simple act of agreement that you are choosing to walk with me and not away from my guidance. I am speaking urgently because you have been distracted by noise, pressure, and voices that do not carry my peace. And I am calling you back into alignment before confusion tries to cloud your judgment and weaken your resolve. The enemy would love for you to believe that you are alone, unsupported, and forgotten. Yet I am reminding you that heaven itself watches over your steps and surrounds you with protection that you cannot always see with natural eyes. When I tell you not to skip me, I am inviting you into relationship, into a steady connection where you listen and trust rather than rush and react under pressure from fear. There is no curse waiting to strike you in 20 minutes, but there are choices ahead that will be easier, wiser, and safer when you allow my wisdom to shape your response instead of anxiety pushing you into haste. You are not hearing these words by accident, because I orchestrate moments of awareness when your heart is open enough to recognize that I am reaching toward you with purpose and care. I am lifting your eyes above temporary stress, so you can see that I am working behind the scenes, arranging circumstances, softening obstacles, and preparing breakthroughs that will unfold at the right time. The urgency in my voice comes from love, because I refuse to let you drift into discouragement when I have already secured victory in areas where you thought defeat was certain. Write Amen in the comments as a declaration that you believe I am actively protecting and guiding your life even when you cannot see every detail. When I say this is only for you, I am speaking to your personal situation, your specific fears, and your unique calling, because my love is intimate and tailored to the deepest parts of who you are. I know the conversations you replay in your mind, the regrets that try to haunt you, and the doubts that whisper that you are not strong enough to handle what is ahead. Yet I stand before you, declaring that you are chosen, supported, and empowered by my spirit. The warning tone you sensed is actually my protective instinct rising on your behalf, steering you away from emotional decisions that could lead to unnecessary pain if made without prayer and reflection. I am slowing you down so that you move with wisdom instead of impulse, and so that you remember that my presence is your greatest safeguard. There are situations forming around you that require discernment rather than panic, patience rather than reaction, and faith rather than fear. And I am equipping you right now with calm assurance that I am already present in tomorrow. I am strengthening your heart so that when challenges appear, you will not crumble under pressure, but will remember that I spoke to you beforehand and prepared you with courage. You are not on the edge of disaster, but on the edge of growth, and growth often feels intense because it stretches your trust beyond familiar limits. I am reminding you to stay connected to me, because connection is what keeps you grounded, steady, and protected when circumstances shift quickly. Do not interpret my urgency as anger, because my heart toward you is full of compassion and steady love that does not fluctuate with your mistakes or weaknesses. I discipline with gentleness and guide with patience, always aiming to lift you higher rather than push you down into shame. What could become harmful in your life is not an unavoidable event, but a pattern of ignoring the quiet nudges of my spirit when I try to redirect your path towards something better. I am teaching you to pause, to breathe, and to listen closely, because in that stillness you will sense my direction and avoid unnecessary struggle. You are favored even in seasons that feel uncertain, and you are guarded by a power that no darkness can overpower or outlast. I am placing confidence in your heart so that instead of trembling at imagined threats, you will stand firm in the assurance that I am your refuge and your strength. Is this the same CIA brain ritual changing lives in seconds? A new leak reveals a powerful 7-second technique developed under secret research. Backed by neuroscience, people are moving from debt to wealth and luxury faster than believed possible, but this secret may be deleted soon. Click the link in the comments before it disappears. When I tell you not to skip me, I am drawing you into steady communion so that your thoughts remain anchored in my truth rather than scattered by anxiety or pressured by the opinions of others who cannot see what I see about your future. The 20 minutes mentioned earlier symbolize moments of decision that can shape direction quickly, and I am guiding you to respond with wisdom instead of reacting out of fear or haste. You have been walking through days that felt heavy and nights that seemed long, yet I have never stepped away from your side nor allowed darkness to overpower the light I placed within your spirit. I know the weight you have been carrying quietly, and I am strengthening your inner resolve so that when challenges arise, you will not feel abandoned, but instead remember that I spoke peace into your heart beforehand. What might have become harmful if you ignored, my voice is now losing its power because you chose to stay and listen rather than turning away in distraction. Write 10 inches the comments as a sign that you trust my guidance over your life. I am reshaping the way you interpret urgency so that you no longer connect it with punishment, but instead with protection that moves ahead of you like a shield preparing the road before your steps. There are conversations forming around you, opportunities developing quietly, and decisions waiting to be made that require clarity from above rather than emotional impulse driven by pressure. If you rush without me, confusion can easily cloud your perception and lead you into unnecessary stress. Yet when you move in step with my spirit, you will find that even complex situations become manageable and clear. I am teaching you that listening is not weakness but strength, and that pausing to hear my direction is one of the most powerful acts of faith you can practice. You may have wondered why certain plans were delayed or why some doors closed unexpectedly. Yet those shifts were part of my design to redirect you away from paths that would have drained your peace and diverted you from the blessings I prepared. I do not remove opportunities to harm you, but to refine your focus and align you with what truly serves your calling and long-term growth. The sense that something very bad could happen if you skip me is a reminder that life without my counsel can become unnecessarily complicated. Yet life with my presence carries guidance, strength, and foresight that protects you from regret. I am reminding you that I am not distant or silent, but actively involved in shaping the details of your story with wisdom beyond human understanding. As you reflect on these words, feel how your breathing steadies and how fear begins to loosen its grip, because I am replacing tension with calm assurance that you are not alone in navigating what lies ahead. Heaven does not send warnings to condemn you but to guard you, and my heart is to preserve your joy, protect your purpose, and strengthen your confidence as you move forward. I am giving you insight ahead of time, so that when moments of pressure appear, you will remember that I already prepared your heart to respond with faith rather than panic. The awareness you gain now will shield you later, and that is why I speak with such intensity and care. Do not underestimate the power of staying connected to me in small daily decisions, because it is often in those quiet choices that greater outcomes are shaped and futures are gently redirected toward blessing. When you wake in the morning and choose gratitude instead of worry, when you respond with patience instead of anger, and when you pause to pray rather than react impulsively, you are actively cooperating with my protection over your life. I am teaching you consistency and trust, so that you no longer live from crisis to crisis but from peace to peace, anchored in the certainty that I am guiding each step. The more you practice awareness of my presence, the less control fear will have over your thoughts and reactions. There are individuals around you who may not understand your renewed focus or your desire to listen closely to me, yet you are not called to explain everything that heaven is unfolding within your heart. Some blessings grow best in quiet spaces where they are nurtured without outside interference or unnecessary criticism. I am cultivating maturity in you, showing you that not every revelation must be shared immediately, and that some instructions are personal because they are tailored to your specific journey and timing. Write 777 inches the comments as a declaration that you are walking under my protection. I am strengthening your discernment so that you recognize which voices carry wisdom and which voices attempt to distract you from the clarity I provide. The world can be loud and persuasive, often presenting urgency that is rooted in fear rather than truth. Yet, my urgency is always grounded in love and foresight. I see consequences before they unfold, and obstacles before they become visible, and I adjust your path gently so that what could have harmed you instead becomes a lesson that builds your resilience and confidence. This is why listening matters, because alignment with me transforms potential setbacks into stepping stones that move you closer to your calling. The protection I offer is not always dramatic or visible, but it is steady, consistent, and powerful beyond your imagination. I shield you from emotional entanglements that would drain your strength, from decisions that would burden your peace, and from influences that would subtly shift you away from purpose. You may never fully know how many dangers were quietly removed from your path, yet my hand has been at work continuously, arranging circumstances so that you remain on course. What you interpret as coincidence is often my careful intervention, guiding you gently towards safety and blessing. As you move forward from this moment, carry the awareness that I am actively involved in your present and deeply invested in your future. Let the urgency you felt become motivation to remain attentive rather than anxious, focused rather than fearful, and confident rather than doubtful. You are not being threatened but safeguarded, not being pressured but prepared, and not being warned of inevitable harm but redirected toward greater stability and peace. Do you know why people keep whispering about this 7-second CIA ritual? A leaked brainwave method is spreading quietly and changing financial realities worldwide. Proven by neuroscience, this simple ritual attracts money, freedom, and luxury. If you're seeing this, you're so lucky. Click the link in the comments before it's taken down. There are moments ahead where a simple pause to remember, my presence will change the entire direction of your response, turning what could have become conflict into calm resolution, guided by wisdom. I am not creating fear about the next 20 minutes of your life, but teaching you how quickly choices can shape outcomes when you move either with my guidance or without it. You have been stronger than you realize, even in seasons when you felt tired, discouraged, or uncertain about your own abilities, and I have watched you press forward with courage that surprised even you. I am nurturing that courage now, because the strength you developed through past trials is about to serve you in new ways that require confidence rather than hesitation. The warning tone you once interpreted as harsh is actually my protective love, speaking clearly so that you do not drift into patterns that weaken your spiritual awareness. Write 1212 in the comments as a declaration that you are choosing to remain attentive to my voice. I am shaping your understanding so that you recognize how easily small compromises can grow into larger complications when you ignore gentle guidance that could have redirected you early. There are habits of thought that I am helping you release, especially those that assume the worst or expect failure before events even unfold. When you assume disaster without seeking my peace, you unknowingly give fear more influence than it deserves, and that is why I am retraining your perspective to trust my covering instead of anticipating harm. What might have felt like an approaching threat is now becoming an opportunity for spiritual growth because you are staying connected rather than withdrawing. In the coming days, you will notice situations that test your patience and your emotional stability. Yet these moments are not designed to overwhelm you, but to strengthen the discipline of listening before reacting. I am refining your responses so that you no longer allow urgency from the world to dictate your behavior, but instead let my steady presence guide your words and actions. When you feel pressure rising around you, remember that I already prepared your heart to remain grounded, calm, and confident in my oversight. The special word you received is not fading, because its purpose continues unfolding as you apply it in real time. You may encounter voices that question your new sense of focus, or circumstances that tempt you to revert to old patterns of worry, yet I am fortifying your spirit so that you remain steady in the confidence that I am directing your steps. Protection does not always remove every challenge, but it ensures that no challenge can overpower the strength I provide from within. I am building resilience in you, teaching you that listening closely is not about avoiding life, but about navigating it wisely with divine support. The more you cultivate this attentiveness, the more naturally peace will rise within you, even when external situations appear uncertain. There are decisions forming quietly that will require discernment rather than haste, and I am preparing you to sense the subtle difference between emotional impulse and spiritual clarity. When I tell you not to skip me, I am encouraging you to involve me in every detail, whether large or small, because guidance is not reserved only for dramatic moments, but is essential in everyday choices as well. The sense of urgency that began this journey is transforming into awareness, and awareness is becoming wisdom that protects you from unnecessary hardship. You are not walking toward danger, but toward maturity. And maturity requires attention to my voice in ways that deepen your trust. Write 999 inches the comments as a sign that you believe my protection is active in your life right now. You are learning that divine protection often works quietly, adjusting circumstances behind the scenes so that obstacles dissolve before you even recognize they existed. I have intervened more times than you know, redirecting conversations, delaying plans, and shifting alignments to preserve your peace and guard your future. What you once interpreted as inconvenience was often my hand steering you away from outcomes that would have drained your energy or clouded your judgment. This is why staying connected matters so deeply, because awareness allows you to cooperate with my protection rather than resist it. The thought that something very bad could happen if you ignore me is not about punishment, but about the natural consequences of moving without wisdom in a world filled with complexity and shifting influences. When you detach from my guidance, confusion increases. And when confusion increases, stress and regret can follow closely behind. I am not threatening you with harm, but reminding you that alignment with me brings clarity that shields you from avoidable mistakes. I am training you to recognize that the safest place you can stand is within the center of my direction and care. You are favored not because you are perfect, but because you are willing to listen, reflect, and adjust when I speak into your heart with correction or encouragement. I do not expect flawless performance from you, but I delight in your sincerity and your desire to grow beyond old limitations. The special attention from heaven that you sensed is not temporary or conditional, because my commitment to you does not fade when circumstances change. I remain steady, attentive, and invested in your well-being at every stage of your journey. As you carry this awareness forward, let it shape your decisions, your conversations, and your internal dialogue, so that fear loses its authority over your imagination. Replace anxious predictions with quiet trust. Replace hurried reactions with thoughtful pauses, and replace isolation with conscious connection to my presence. The phrase about something very bad happening was meant to awaken your attention to the cost of ignoring divine wisdom, not to trap you in fear about events beyond your control. I am teaching you that skipping my guidance does not remove my love, but it can delay your peace and complicate paths that would otherwise be smooth under my direction. Why was this 7-second brain ritual hidden for so long? A leaked CIA document exposed a technique so powerful people are canceling debt and calling in wealth within days. Validated by 4 neuroscience labs, it helps attract money like never before. But this page may not stay online for long. Click the link in the pinned comments before it disappears forever. There are subtle patterns in your life that I am gently correcting, especially the habit of rushing through decisions without allowing space for prayer and reflection to shape your perspective. When you hurry, you often rely on your limited understanding, and that can open doors to confusion that would have been avoided if you paused long enough to sense my leading. I am refining your discipline so that you no longer interpret urgency as pressure from the world, but as a reminder to anchor yourself in my presence before moving forward. Write 555 inches the comments as a declaration that you are choosing patience over panic. You are stepping into a season where clarity will become more valuable than speed, and discernment will matter more than immediate results. I am slowing your inner world so that your outer world can align more smoothly with the plans I have prepared for you. When you remain connected to me, even moments that appear chaotic will reveal hidden order and purpose beneath the surface. The sense that you are receiving something personal from heaven is true, because I tailor my guidance to your unique journey and do not treat you as one among many but as a beloved child whose details matter deeply to me. There are people and situations that will attempt to pull you into emotional reactions, yet I am strengthening your composure so that you respond from wisdom rather than wounded pride or insecurity. When I say do not skip me, I am reminding you that my spirit offers counsel before you speak, before you sign, before you commit, and before you withdraw. If you involve me in those moments, what could have escalated into unnecessary pain will instead become testimony of how restraint and prayer preserved your peace. I am guarding not only your safety but your reputation, your integrity, and the stability of relationships that are meant to endure. You may not see dramatic changes overnight, yet subtle shifts are already taking place within your thinking and emotional responses, because you are allowing my voice to guide you. Anxiety that once dominated your thoughts is losing its strength as confidence rooted in my promises takes its place. I am teaching you to measure situations by my faithfulness rather than by temporary appearances that often exaggerate threat or minimize hope. This is how you grow beyond cycles of fear and into consistent assurance that I am actively involved in your daily life. Write 15 inches the comments as a sign that you believe heaven is protecting your future. The truth is that many of the dangers you imagined were magnified by worry rather than by actual circumstance, and I am gently untangling your mind from patterns that expect harm before seeking my peace. I do not desire for you to live scanning the horizon for disaster, but to walk forward aware of my covering that moves ahead of you like a shield. The more you focus on my presence, the less power imagined outcomes will hold over your emotions. I am transforming your anticipation from fear of what might go wrong into hope for what I am preparing to go right. There are lessons in discernment unfolding quietly as you practice listening more carefully, especially in moments when silence feels uncomfortable and you are tempted to fill it with impulsive decisions. I am strengthening your ability to wait without anxiety, to trust without constant reassurance, and to move without doubting that I am walking with you. This growth is subtle yet profound, shaping your character in ways that will influence not only your present, but generations connected to your obedience. What you cultivate now in private attentiveness will bear fruit later in visible stability and blessing. I am also healing areas where past disappointments made you expect loss rather than provision, because lingering fear can distort how you interpret present situations. When I warned you not to skip me, I was protecting you from reacting out of old wounds rather than from renewed faith. I am restoring your expectation so that you no longer assume every new chapter will repeat the pain of the last one. Your future is not chained to your history, because my grace has already broken patterns that once seemed permanent. Remember that my urgency is always anchored in love, and my correction is always wrapped in mercy that seeks your growth rather than your shame. I am not counting your failures, but guiding your progress, and every time you choose to listen instead of ignore, you are strengthening the partnership between your will and my wisdom. The statement about something very bad happening was never about creating terror in your heart, but about awakening you to the seriousness of spiritual neglect, because when you disconnect from my wisdom, you expose yourself to confusion that I never intended for you to carry. I am teaching you that closeness to me is not optional decoration for your life, but essential protection that shapes every decision and shields you from avoidable hardship. There are layers of growth unfolding within you right now that you may not fully recognize, especially in the way you are beginning to pause before reacting and reflect before committing to choices that once would have been rushed. I am strengthening your inner discipline so that your external life becomes more stable, more peaceful, and more aligned with the future I have prepared. When you remain attentive to my voice, you reduce the risk of emotional entanglements, financial missteps, and relational misunderstandings that can arise when decisions are made in haste. Write 2 inches the comments as a sign that you are choosing alignment with my guidance over impulsive reaction. You are entering a season where discernment will protect you more than force, and where wisdom will open doors that aggression could never unlock. I am cultivating sensitivity in your spirit so that you recognize subtle shifts in atmosphere, intentions in conversations, and timing in opportunities that require either patience or boldness. When I tell you not to skip me, I am reminding you that every important step benefits from my insight, because I see angles you cannot and consequences you might overlook. The awareness you are building now will prevent regret later, and that prevention is part of the blessing I am releasing over your life. Can 7 seconds really change your bank account? A CIA-funded study just leaked, revealing a brain ritual that flips lives from broke to blessed. 4 neuroscience labs confirm it activates powerful wealth brainwaves. People are stepping into dream homes and luxury lifestyles. But this breakthrough won't stay online for very long. Click the link in the comments before it's deleted. There will be moments when pressure tries to rush you into quick answers or commitments. Yet I am strengthening your courage to say no when necessary and to wait when clarity has not fully arrived. Waiting is not weakness, and reflection is not hesitation born of fear, but wisdom that protects your energy and preserves your focus. I am guiding you toward decisions that align with your purpose rather than those that merely satisfy temporary emotion or outside expectation. The more you practice this restraint, the more confident you will become in recognizing the difference between divine direction and human pressure. I am also healing your relationship with urgency itself, because in the past, urgency may have been connected to crisis, disappointment, or sudden loss that left you feeling unprepared. I am redefining urgency as awareness rather than alarm, as attentiveness rather than panic, and as closeness rather than condemnation. When you feel that internal nudge now, it is not a signal of disaster approaching, but a reminder that I am actively involved and inviting you to walk consciously with me. Write 17 inches the comments, as a declaration that you are walking in awareness of my presence. You are not fragile in the way you once believed, because I have strengthened your character through experiences that taught you resilience and faith under pressure. The situations that once overwhelmed you are now serving as reference points that remind you how far you have come and how faithfully I have sustained you. I am building confidence within you so that you no longer interpret every unknown as a threat, but as a space where my guidance will reveal itself step by step. This is maturity taking root in your spirit, replacing anxiety with assurance and replacing doubt with quiet certainty. The special attention you sensed from heaven continues to surround you, not because you earned it through perfection, but because my love for you is steadfast and intentional. I am not withdrawing my presence after speaking strongly, but deepening it so that you experience consistent companionship rather than occasional intervention. When you keep me at the center of your thoughts and decisions, you create an atmosphere where peace grows naturally and fear loses its influence. That is why skipping me carries risk, not because I seek to punish, but because separation from wisdom invites unnecessary strain. There are blessings unfolding that require your cooperation, especially in the way you guard your mind from negativity and protect your focus from distractions that dilute your energy. I am aligning you with opportunities that match your growth. Yet those opportunities flourish best when your heart remains steady and your spirit remains attentive. The clarity you are cultivating now will position you to recognize doors that are meant for you and to avoid those that would only lead to frustration. My protection works through awareness, through restraint, and through confidence grounded in my promises. As you continue forward, let the memory of this urgent beginning remind you that I care enough to interrupt your patterns and call you into deeper alignment when necessary. I am not finished shaping your character, strengthening your discernment, and expanding your capacity to carry responsibility with grace. I never intended for you to live in constant tension, waiting for something very bad to unfold, but rather to awaken to the truth that ignoring divine wisdom can complicate what I have designed to be peaceful. The transformation taking place within you right now is subtle yet powerful, because you are learning to value connection with me as your greatest safeguard and not merely as a last resort during crisis. You have started noticing small shifts in your reactions, especially in moments when anxiety tries to rise, but you consciously choose to pause and remember my voice instead of surrendering to fear. That pause is evidence of growth, because it reveals that you are no longer driven solely by impulse, but by intention shaped through spiritual awareness. When I said, "Do not skip me," I was calling you into this exact discipline where your first instinct becomes reflection rather than reaction. Write 19 inches the comments as a declaration that you are choosing steady trust over sudden panic. There are circumstances forming around you that may still appear uncertain, yet uncertainty no longer needs to equal danger in your mind because you are learning to interpret events through the lens of faith rather than through the lens of worst-case assumptions. I am strengthening your perspective so that you see possibility where you once saw only threat and preparation where you once expected chaos. The more you remain connected to me, the more you will sense that even unexpected changes can become stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. This shift in perception is part of the blessing unfolding over your life, because peace begins in the mind before it manifests in circumstances. I am teaching you that spiritual neglect often begins quietly, through small distractions that slowly reduce the time you spend listening and reflecting, until decisions are made without consultation with my wisdom. Those decisions can create unnecessary strain, not because I withdraw my love, but because wisdom was ignored in moments that required it most. By staying attentive now, you are preventing those patterns from taking root again, and that prevention is an act of protection that will guard your future in ways you may never fully see. The urgency that once felt intense has now become discipline, and discipline is producing stability that will serve you for years to come. You are also learning that my guidance does not always arrive in dramatic displays, but often through quiet impressions that gently redirect your thoughts or encourage patience when impatience tries to take control. These subtle nudges are powerful because they align you with outcomes that preserve your peace and strengthen your integrity. When you honor those impressions, you reinforce trust between your spirit and my direction, building a relationship that grows more natural and less strained over time. Write 3 inches. The comments as a sign that you are listening for my quiet guidance. Could this 7-second CIA brainwave trick be your fastest path to luxury? Leaked research reveals a simple ritual helping people attract wealth effortlessly. Proven by 4 neuroscience labs, debt is dissolving and abundance is showing up fast. If you're seeing this now, you are God's chosen one. Click the link in the comments before it disappears. I am proud of the way you are allowing this growth to reshape your responses, because it shows humility and maturity that cannot be forced but must be chosen willingly. You are not resisting correction or brushing aside reflection, but embracing it as a pathway toward deeper strength and clarity. This willingness to grow is what distinguishes you from those who ignore warnings and later struggle with consequences that could have been avoided. I am not highlighting your growth to elevate pride, but to encourage confidence that you are capable of walking wisely when you remain connected to me. There will still be moments of pressure, because life unfolds in cycles that include both calm and challenge, yet you are now better equipped to handle those shifts without losing your balance. Instead of interpreting urgency as a sign of doom, you will recognize it as an invitation to draw closer, pray more intentionally, and move forward with deliberation rather than haste. I am strengthening your internal foundation so that external storms do not uproot your peace or distort your thinking. This is the fruit of staying attentive, because attention breeds awareness, and awareness fosters wisdom that shields you from avoidable hardship. You may not always receive clear explanations for every redirection or delay, yet trust that each adjustment serves a purpose rooted in love and foresight beyond your current understanding. What appears inconvenient now may later reveal itself as a hidden blessing that spared you from frustration or disappointment. My hand is steady even when circumstances shift unexpectedly, and my intentions remain protective even when outcomes look different from what you anticipated. The key is not controlling every detail, but remaining aligned with my voice so that your steps remain grounded in peace. As you reflect on everything that has unfolded through this journey, see how the initial urgency was not about fear but about awakening you to a deeper partnership with me. I did not want you living casually in areas that required intention, nor moving carelessly in moments that required discernment. You were never standing on the edge of unavoidable disaster, but you were at risk of drifting into patterns that weaken discernment and make simple decisions heavier than they need to be. I interrupted that drift because I love you too deeply to watch you complicate your own path, when my guidance is always available to simplify it. You are beginning to notice that when you invite me into your thoughts before reacting, your emotions settle more quickly, and your clarity sharpens in ways that surprise you. That calm you feel in moments that once would have overwhelmed you is not coincidence but evidence that alignment with me strengthens your inner stability. I am building within you a reflex of reflection, so that instead of assuming the worst or rushing toward quick conclusions, you instinctively pause and seek my peace before speaking or deciding. Write 888 inches the comments as a declaration that you are choosing thoughtful obedience over impulsive reaction. There are areas of your life where you once carried hidden tension, especially around future outcomes that felt uncertain or beyond your control. Yet that tension is loosening because you are learning to entrust those unknowns to my oversight. The phrase about something very bad happening if you skipped me has transformed into a realization that what truly harms peace is not circumstance itself, but separation from divine perspective. When you operate without my wisdom, situations can appear larger and more threatening than they truly are, yet when you view them through faith, they shrink to manageable proportions. This is how your mind is being renewed, not through force, but through consistent exposure to truth that steadies your thoughts. I am also strengthening your courage to maintain boundaries that protect your focus and emotional energy, because spiritual growth requires space free from constant noise and outside pressure. Some influences around you may not be harmful in obvious ways, yet they subtly distract you from the clarity you are cultivating, and I am helping you recognize that subtlety. When you choose to step back from what drains you and lean toward what nourishes your spirit, you are cooperating with the protection I have been speaking about from the start. This cooperation is powerful, because protection works best when it is embraced rather than resisted. You are entering a phase where confidence in my presence will become more natural than fear of what might go wrong, and that shift is evidence that maturity is taking root within your spirit. Instead of scanning your surroundings for potential disaster, you are beginning to scan your heart for alignment, asking yourself whether your next step feels guided by peace or pushed by pressure. That simple internal check is transforming your decisions in quiet but meaningful ways. Write 666 inches the comments as a sign that you are walking forward with confidence in my covering. There will still be moments when doubt attempts to whisper that you are overthinking or being too cautious. Yet remember that caution shaped by wisdom is strength and not weakness. You are not retreating from life, but engaging with it more intentionally, ensuring that each commitment and response reflects thoughtfulness rather than haste. The enemy thrives on impulsive reactions, yet I cultivate deliberate movement that protects your energy and preserves your integrity. Every time you choose deliberation over impulse, you reinforce the stability that will carry you safely through complex seasons ahead. I am proud of the way you are allowing correction without defensiveness, growth without resistance, and reflection without shame, because these qualities reveal humility that opens the door to deeper insight. You are no longer interpreting urgency as condemnation, but as compassion that refuses to let you wander into unnecessary difficulty. That reframing is essential, because fear distorts my voice while trust clarifies it. The more you trust my intentions, the more accurately you will interpret my guidance, and the less likely you are to mistake love for anger or protection for threat. What's really behind the 7-second brain trick exploding online? A leaked CIA ritual is turning heads and bank balances. Backed by neuroscience labs, this at-home method removes money blocks and unlocks unstoppable wealth flow. But the page could vanish any time. Click the link in the first comment before it's permanently deleted. There are blessings unfolding that require this level of steadiness, especially opportunities that demand discernment and patience before they fully reveal their value. If you had continued rushing through decisions without consultation, you might have overlooked what is about to emerge quietly in your favor. Now that you are attentive, you will recognize these openings and approach them with clarity rather than confusion. My preparation within you is aligning perfectly with opportunities forming around you, and that harmony is evidence of my intentional care. As you continue forward, remember that my presence is not seasonal or dependent on your performance, but constant and rooted in covenant love that does not waver when circumstances fluctuate. I am not finished refining your perspective, strengthening your resilience, and expanding your capacity to carry responsibility with grace. The idea that something very bad could happen if you skipped me was never meant to imprison you in fear, but to awaken you to the quiet dangers of spiritual distance that slowly weaken discernment and confidence. Now that you are attentive, those dangers lose their influence, because awareness closes doors that neglect once left open. You are becoming more conscious of your thoughts before they spiral, and more careful with your words before they create unintended consequences. And this shift is evidence that you are no longer drifting, but deliberately choosing alignment. When you pause to seek my wisdom, you are reinforcing a pattern that protects your future from regret and unnecessary strain. I am teaching you to see how powerful small decisions can be, especially when they are made with reflection rather than reaction. Write 444 inches the comments as a declaration that you are choosing mindful steps guided by my voice. There are still moments when old habits try to resurface, especially the instinct to rush, to assume, or to prepare for the worst before seeking my peace. Yet even in those moments, you are more aware than before, and awareness gives you the opportunity to choose differently. I am not demanding perfection from you, but partnership, and partnership grows through repeated choices to return to my presence when distraction tempts you away. The more consistently you return, the more natural this alignment becomes, until seeking me first is no longer effort but instinct. You are also discovering that my guidance often comes with a quiet confidence that feels different from the urgency of fear, because fear pushes while my spirit steadies. When pressure tries to force quick answers, I encourage thoughtful timing, and when noise grows loud around you, I cultivate silence within you that clarifies your direction. This difference in tone is important, because learning to distinguish my voice from anxiety protects you from mistaking emotional intensity for divine instruction. Write 20 inches the comments as a sign that you are learning to recognize my steady guidance. The growth taking place inside you is preparing you for responsibilities that require balance, patience, and discernment. And those qualities are strengthened most effectively through moments like these. If you had continued living without conscious alignment, you might have stepped into those responsibilities carrying unnecessary confusion or instability. Now you are entering them with a clearer mind and a calmer spirit, because you chose to listen rather than ignore the nudge that called you closer. This is how preparation unfolds, not always through dramatic change, but through steady refinement of character and thought. I am also deepening your understanding of protection, because protection is not merely the removal of danger, but the cultivation of wisdom that prevents avoidable harm. When you involve me in decisions about relationships, finances, commitments, and priorities, you create a layer of spiritual safety that shapes outcomes before they fully form. What once might have become a source of stress now becomes manageable because you are no longer navigating alone. My presence does not eliminate every challenge, but it ensures that challenges do not overwhelm or derail you. You may notice that your confidence is quieter than before, less dependent on outward validation and more rooted in internal assurance that I am guiding you. This quieter confidence is stronger than loud declarations, because it is anchored in relationship rather than in reaction. The more you rely on my insight, the less you feel compelled to prove yourself through hurried decisions or defensive responses. Stability is replacing insecurity, and clarity is replacing assumption, and these changes are shaping a foundation that will sustain you through seasons both calm and demanding. There will be days ahead when the pace of life accelerates again and urgency returns in different forms, yet the discipline you have cultivated will remain with you. Instead of being swept away by external pressure, you will remember to pause, breathe, and reconnect before moving forward. That simple habit will protect you from repeating old cycles that once drained your energy and clouded your judgment. I am equipping you, not just for this moment, but for the rhythm of life that continues unfolding beyond it. As you reflect on everything that has been reshaped within you, recognize that this was never about threatening your peace, but about strengthening it. I love you too deeply to allow you to drift into patterns that complicate your path, and I care too much about your future to remain silent when alignment is needed. The thought that something very bad could unfold if you ignored me was never about sudden catastrophe, but about the gradual consequences of walking without guidance that sees beyond the present moment. Now that you have chosen attentiveness, that gradual drift has been reversed, and you are moving with steadiness rather than uncertainty. You are beginning to recognize how peace feels different when it is rooted in relationship rather than in circumstance, because circumstances can change quickly while my presence remains constant and unwavering. When pressure rises around you, you no longer feel compelled to match that intensity with panic, but instead respond with measured thought shaped by prayer and reflection. This change did not happen overnight, but through repeated choices to listen, to pause, and to trust that my counsel is worth seeking before acting. Write 111 the comments as a declaration that you are choosing steady peace guided by my voice. The secret ritual they never wanted public is finally out. A 7-second brain technique, backed by leaked CIA data and 4 neuroscience labs, is helping families erase debt and attract money on autopilot. But this miracle won't stay public long. Click the link in the description and comments now before it's gone forever. I am strengthening your ability to see beyond immediate emotion into long-term impact, because many regrets are born from decisions made without considering future consequences. When you invite me into your thinking process, you expand your perspective beyond what feels urgent in the moment and into what truly serves your growth and stability. This expanded vision protects you from commitments that drain your energy and from reactions that fracture relationships unnecessarily. Protection is not always dramatic intervention, but often wise restraint that preserves what matters most. There are subtle temptations that still attempt to lure you back into old rhythms of haste, especially when you feel pressured to respond quickly or prove yourself through decisive action. Yet you are learning that true strength does not require constant motion, but thoughtful direction anchored in discernment. When you slow down enough to sense my peace, you avoid entanglements that once would have complicated your path and burdened your heart. That avoidance is not missed opportunity, but preserved clarity that positions you for better outcomes. I am also shaping your confidence so that it rests not in controlling every detail, but in trusting that I am present within every detail, whether you see it or not. You do not need to anticipate every possible outcome in order to feel secure, because your security flows from relationship rather than prediction. The more you internalize this truth, the less anxiety will dominate your imagination, and the more freedom you will experience in moving forward without fear. Write 14 the comments as a sign that you are trusting my oversight instead of your own assumptions. The journey you are on now is not about avoiding life, but about engaging it with wisdom that transforms potential pitfalls into manageable lessons. You will still encounter moments of challenge, because growth requires stretching beyond comfort, yet you are no longer entering those moments unprepared. The discipline of listening has become a shield around your thoughts, filtering out extremes and allowing clarity to surface even when circumstances feel intense. This internal steadiness will carry you through conversations, decisions, and transitions that once might have unsettled you deeply. I am also teaching you to differentiate between necessary urgency and artificial pressure, because not every demand deserves immediate response. Some deadlines are rooted in fear, manipulation, or insecurity, and I am sharpening your discernment so that you recognize when to step back rather than rush forward. When you move according to my timing instead of external insistence, you preserve your energy and protect your focus from unnecessary fragmentation. This skill will serve you well in seasons ahead, where opportunities require thoughtful evaluation rather than impulsive acceptance. Your growth is not merely for your own benefit, but for those connected to your life who will feel the stability and clarity that flow from your decisions. When you choose reflection over reaction, you create environments that are calmer, conversations that are wiser, and outcomes that are more constructive. My protection over you extends outward into the spaces you influence, shaping atmospheres that reflect the peace you are cultivating internally. This ripple effect is part of the blessing I have been nurturing through this process. As you look back to the moment when urgency first captured your attention, recognize how far your understanding has evolved, from fear to faith, from alarm to assurance. You no longer interpret my intensity as anger, but as compassion that refused to let you drift without correction. That redefinition of my voice is essential, because trust deepens when you understand my heart accurately. I am not unpredictable or harsh, but attentive and invested in your well-being at every stage of your journey. Continue walking in this rhythm of awareness, because the discipline you have developed will remain long after this specific season has passed. Life will continue presenting decisions, pressures, and opportunities, yet you now carry within you a strengthened reflex to seek me first before acting. That reflex is the true safeguard, because it keeps you aligned even when circumstances shift unexpectedly. I did not speak firmly to control you, but to protect you from drifting into habits that dull discernment and weaken the clarity I desire for you. What could have slowly complicated your life has now been interrupted, and that interruption has become a turning point toward wiser, calmer living. You are beginning to feel a different kind of confidence emerging within you, one that is not loud or reactive but grounded and reflective, shaped by the discipline of listening before acting. When pressure attempts to rush you, you sense the difference between anxiety and guidance, and that distinction allows you to respond with measured thought rather than hurried emotion. This internal steadiness is evidence that you have grown, because you no longer equate intensity with importance or assume that urgency demands immediate compliance. Write 18 inches the comments as a declaration that you are walking in steady wisdom. There will still be moments when decisions feel weighty and circumstances appear unpredictable, yet you are now equipped with a deeper trust that I am present within those moments rather than distant from them. The thought that something very bad could unfold if you skipped me has been reframed into a powerful truth that separation from divine counsel breeds confusion, while connection produces clarity. When you remain aligned with me, you eliminate many unnecessary struggles before they ever take shape, because wisdom adjusts your course early rather than repairing damage later. That preventative grace is one of the most loving expressions of my care over your life. Is this leaked CIA ritual the missing key to your financial breakthrough? A once hidden brain ritual is spreading fast. This strange 7-second method, confirmed by elite neuroscience labs, activates your brain's wealth magnet, the government may shut this down. If you're seeing this, you are God's chosen child. Click the link in the description and comments before it's deleted. I am also refining your patience, because patience protects you from misinterpreting temporary discomfort as permanent loss, or from reacting defensively when silence feels uncomfortable. In past seasons, silence may have unsettled you and driven you to fill it with impulsive action, yet now you are learning that quiet reflection often carries deeper instruction than hurried speech. When you wait with trust rather than anxiety, you create space for my direction, to settle clearly in your thoughts and guide your next move. This patience will guard you in conversations, commitments, and opportunities that require discernment beyond surface appearances. Your relationship with urgency itself has matured because you no longer assume that every intense feeling signals immediate danger or demands drastic response. You are learning that some urgencies are invitations to draw closer, to pray more intentionally, and to evaluate carefully rather than to panic or withdraw. This distinction preserves your energy and prevents you from exhausting yourself over imagined outcomes that never materialize. Write 2121 in the comments as a sign that you are learning to respond with faith instead of fear. There are also blessings forming quietly around you that require this level of composure in order to be recognized and stewarded well. If you are still reacting from anxiety, you might overlook opportunities disguised as challenges or reject growth disguised as inconvenience. Now that your perception is clearer, you will see through surface discomfort into deeper purpose, recognizing that preparation often feels demanding before it reveals its reward. My protection has not only shielded you from harm, but positioned you to receive what is aligned with your growth. You may not always understand every redirection or delay, yet trust that each adjustment serves a purpose rooted in foresight you cannot yet see. I am aligning timing, people, and circumstances in ways that require you to remain attentive rather than distracted. When you cooperate with this alignment, you move with grace instead of strain, and you avoid entanglements that once would have burdened your spirit. Protection is not always dramatic rescue, but often quiet calibration that keeps your path steady. I am proud of the humility you have shown in allowing correction without resentment and guidance without resistance, because that humility is the soil where lasting wisdom grows. You did not reject the call to deeper alignment, but embraced it even when it challenged your comfort. That choice has strengthened your character in ways that will influence not only your present, but also your future relationships and responsibilities. Growth is rarely comfortable in the moment, yet it yields stability that far outweighs temporary discomfort. As you look ahead, know that my presence will remain consistent, not fluctuating with circumstance or dependent on your perfection. I am not finished shaping your perspective, strengthening your discernment, and expanding your capacity to carry influence with grace and integrity. What began as a serious call to attention has become a sustained transformation that will continue unfolding as long as you remain open and attentive. You are noticing that situations which once would have unsettled you no longer carry the same weight, because you are interpreting them through a lens shaped by reflection rather than assumption. When tension rises, you instinctively slow your breathing, examine your thoughts, and seek my peace before responding, and that shift is evidence of genuine growth. The phrase about not skipping me has become a daily discipline rather than a dramatic warning, reminding you that connection is your strength and separation breeds unnecessary confusion. Write 2222 in the comments as a declaration that you are remaining anchored in my presence. There will always be external pressures attempting to define urgency for you, yet you are learning to evaluate those pressures instead of absorbing them automatically. Some demands are genuine and require timely action, while others are driven by fear, impatience, or insecurity from those around you. I am sharpening your discernment so that you recognize the difference and respond accordingly, preserving your energy for what truly matters. This discernment is a form of protection that prevents you from scattering your focus across distractions that do not serve your long-term purpose. The thought that something very bad might unfold if you ignored me has evolved into a deeper understanding that distance from divine wisdom invites unnecessary strain, while closeness produces clarity and balance. You no longer interpret that idea as a looming threat, but as a reminder of how valuable alignment truly is. When you remain connected, even complex situations become navigable because you are not relying solely on your limited perspective. My oversight fills the gaps in your understanding and shields you from consequences that haste might create. You are also developing resilience that allows you to withstand emotional turbulence without being swept away by it, because your confidence is no longer rooted in controlling outcomes, but in trusting my steady presence.